welcome to another episode of the Verde Valley Experience. I'm your host, Jennifer Cohen. Today's show, we're going to mix it up a bit. We're going to start right off with our musical entertainment with a performance by the Arizona Old Time Fiddlers Association. The Arizona Old Time Fiddlers Association is a non-for-profit organization whose objective is to preserve, promote, and perpetuate the art of old-time fiddling. They're going to encourage the young and the old to develop their musical talents, and the old-time fiddlers perform in public. They hold jam sessions, play other musical events, and educate the public on the values of old-time fiddling music. So you'll want to rosin up your bow and join in, and we'll tell you how here in just a few moments, so stick around. Then we'll get a visit from Dr. Milad Hawk of the Retinal Consultants of Arizona. Diabetic eye disease has no warning signs. That's pretty scary. Finding and treating the disease early before it causes vision loss or even blindness is the best way to control diabetic eye disease. If you have diabetes, make sure to get a dilated eye exam at least once a year. Dr. Hawk will be in the studio to share with us the details about this disease and how it can be treated or even better avoided. And we'll take a trip out to Stone Church Forge in Camp Verde and visit the world-renowned bladesmith Ray Rybar. Ray was so kind to let us into his studio and share details on his life and the history of forging and bladesmithing. Plus, he treated us to a demonstration of some of his equipment and techniques. An amazing artist and a very cool man, too. I know you'll love meeting Ray Rybar. Our next guest will be Anthony Caetano, Community Liaison and Co-Chair of Sedona Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, along with Edward Lee. He is the Camp Verde liaison of OLLI. Very new. This is exciting news. Learning is something that continues throughout our lives, and intellectual growth is so important to the quality of living that you should, at any age, always continue to strive towards learning new and interesting things. Osher Lifelong Learning Institute is here to help with just that. And we'll finish up our show with a trip up to Flagstaff to the U.S. Geological Survey Science Center and have a chat with scientist in charge, Bob Hart. Bob will join us in the Astrogeology building and describe all the things going on in the Flagstaff Science Center. A really neat place that's a must-see for any science or technology buff. Now let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get this show off right today with the Arizona Old Time Fiddlers Association.
About 30 miles west of Payson lies a place called Bloody Basin. Pine Mountain to the Hutch, a wilderness I love so much. Wild and free, place I like to be. That's where I'm gonna, it's the heart of Arizona. Deer, fox, and rabbits all around, lizards and rattlers on the ground. When you look up in the sky, an eagle flying, a raven and a red-tailed cry, and that's the reason why I love Bloody Basin, and I will till I die. Mesquite and cactus all in bloom, one can smell their sweet perfume. Down in the Manzanita, the javelina, who can hear quail and coyotes calling, on the ridge see bear rambling, or hear the sound of a lion screaming. You think you must be dreaming. The ancient Indians loved this place, tried to protect it from the white race. On Skeleton Ridge they died a-fightin', and it doesn't seem quite fair. They lost their lives 'cause they wouldn't share their beloved Indian nation way down in Bloody Basin. About 30 miles west of Payson lies a place called Bloody Basin. Pine Mountain to the Hutch, a wilderness I love so much. Wild and free, place I like to be. That's where I'm gonna, it's the heart of Arizona. As a young man on his own, Bloody Basin was his home. His horse and he would roam all alone, herding wild cattle from light to night. Brandon dehorning was his plight, and the stars shining bright made everything seem right. Along the top of Long Mesa, the roundup is going. Wild cattle are a ball and cowboys yelling. Even though those days were tough, he'll never have enough just to feel his heart a-racing way down bloody basin. When his riding days are o'er, and he can't ramble anymore, he wants the Lord to set him free in the place he wants to be. Take his boots, his hat, his saddle, take his horse and the wild cattle, spread his ashes from the mason in the place called Bloody Basin. About 30 miles west of Payson lies a place called Bloody Basin. Pine Mountain to the hutch, a wilderness I love so much. Wild and free, the place I like to be. That's where I'm gonna, it's the heart of Arizona. That's where I'm gonna, it's the heart of Arizona.
Very nice. That was wonderful. You guys sound like you've been playing together forever.
Occasionally.
That was very nice. I loved how the fiddle complemented your voice, Billy. It was so wonderful. I kept thinking, who else is singing? And it was Nancy's fiddle. That was really wonderful. The Arizona Old Time Fiddlers Association. You guys are great. I see we have more than fiddles. We have lots of wonderful things, which means it could be a lot more inclusive for musicians out there, for sure.
Only thing but brass instruments and drums. We don't do those.
Okay, so items with strings and made out of wood and
Accordions and
And we try to
Nice.
avoid electricity.
no electricity. Well, yeah, for sure.
There are exceptions.
Well, there you go. That is true. Now, Nancy, tell us a little bit. Now, you are the president of the Verde Valley chapter
Verde
of the
Valley
Fiddlers
chapter.
Association. If you
Yes.
can step up,
and
tell us a little bit about it.
well, we've been, I think it's since 1973, and I've only been fiddling about 8 years, so I'm not up on everything that goes on, but the dues are like $12 a year, and I think $2 or $3 for the general for our organization there in Cottonwood, and the rest goes to the state. So, and we have the first Sunday of every month we play at this new senior building up on 6th Street.
Oh, wonderful.
From 1 to 4, and the public's invited to come listen or come play, or we're real open and
Dance.
yeah, if they want to dance, we've got a dance floor, and it's really nice. It's just a nice facility to be at.
Wow, and that's every Sunday from 1 to 4.
No, the first Sunday of every month.
The first Sunday of every month.
Yeah, we play at Cottonwood.
In Cottonwood.
Senior building.
At the senior center. That's
Yep.
awesome. And you've got something exciting coming up, John. You've got a state competition?
We have the Arizona State Grand Championship is going to be the end of September, the 26th and 27th weekend of September. And that's held every year down in Payson at the rodeo grounds, the new
Wow.
rodeo grounds by the casino. And the winner of that contest gets to go to Weezer to play in the national contest.
How
That
about that?
qualifies them to play in the national contest. So
Wow.
that's fun.
That's cool. And we're talking individuals or are we talking groups?
Individuals,
Individual
fiddle players.
musicians.
And it's
Wow.
by age group, so you'll have young juniors. I don't know if they have one younger
Juniors.
than that or not.
No.
Juniors, young adults, adults, seniors,
and
seniors, and we've
seniors.
had fiddle players there.
93 years old.
Yeah, well
Nice.
over 80.
Wow.
Well, I think Ruth
That's
Gilpin
wonderful.
played at 96 up there.
Wow.
So it's a lot of fun, and it's just a great family event.
Oh, I bet.
And real wholesome, good
Sure.
setting.
Sure. Now, if there's anyone out there that happens to like to fiddle, like old time music, and they want to get involved in your organization, what's the best way to contact you?
You can call Fran Judd, and her number's in the book. She's the one that really to contact here, or Billy.
Okay.
And Billy Helm. And they can sort of give you more information, or I can give you more information. My name's Nancy Reynolds. I'm also,
Sure.
and that's the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
And we have a website. What is that? AZ
Old time fiddle.
Fiddlers.
Yep.
And you can go on that, and there's a lot of information on that. There's a lot of pictures. We have a fall camp out. It was just over in August up at Willard Springs. Got sort of rained out this year, but it was fun.
I bet.
So
Great. Yep. If you can check out azoldtimefiddlers.org. Also, you're on Facebook too.
Yes.
You got a great Facebook page. Now, the song you're going to play next, is it an original as well?
no, it's an old time fiddle tune.
Okay.
We're going to do a medley of Maggie and Red Wing.
Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful. And that first song, very important, was written by Miss Billy Helm over here. That was a really great song. Well, thank you guys very much. Take it away, Arizona Old Time Fiddlers.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
And welcome back to the Verde Valley Experience. We're now here with Dr. Milad Hawk, Retinal Consultants of AZ. Thank you so much for joining us again. Nice to have you back.
Thanks. Nice being here.
Now, I know we have a lot to talk about. These are such involved things. Diabetic eye disease. Now, tell us about that. I know it doesn't have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen. You're right. Let's talk about diabetes first. It's an organ-wide disease, and the basic idea is you have too much blood sugar running through your blood vessels. These sugars can affect the blood vessels, and these blood vessels no longer are keeping tight. They start leaking fluid. The smaller the vessel is, the more affected they are. And your retina, which is an organ in the back of your eye, has some of the smallest blood vessels we have. Your kidneys and your brains also have these vessels, and that's why these diabetics get kidney disease and they get strokes. But us ophthalmologists, we see something called diabetic retinopathy. It's when these blood vessels, because of the chronic high sugar flowing through them, no longer keep tight. The junctions are loose and they leak fluid and bleed. And retina is an organ that wants to be dry. When it gets fluid in it, it starts malfunction and ultimately thinning and dying.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good. Now, I've read a couple of things about this. One is that there are virtually no symptoms.
In the beginning stages, absolutely, because most folks just think, you know, they're getting a little older or they're having some cataracts. They don't think much of it. We usually end up seeing these folks, you know, towards the late stages when the disease is advanced. That's why the diabetics, the primary care physicians, should be telling their patients to get at least annual eye exams, even if your blood sugar is maintained well. If it's not maintained well, the interval should be less, maybe about every 6 months. Because, as you said, you want to catch the disease early. There are treatment options available. And as you said in the beginning, you don't have to get diabetic retinopathy. It can be prevented.
Right, yes. So it's very, very important to at least annually to get the dilated eye exam. And of course, more often if
your doctor
starting to have issues.
Exactly.
For sure. And of course, take good care of yourself, first of all.
That's right.
That would be a good one. Now, per se, as I know most people, we don't take good care of ourselves. What are some of the beginning signs, the gotta do something here?
Yeah, you know, diabetic is a chronic disease, and I think at some point many patients get tired. They do a good job for many years. They keep their sugars under good control. After years go by, they get tired of watching what they eat and exercising, and they let go. You know, they let go on these, we call it on these honeymoon breaks, where they let go, and it's usually around Thanksgiving or Christmas. And what the truth is, this disease does not go away. And so some of the eye symptoms you may be having are that, again, blurry vision. You may have some floaters. These may be specks of blood that floating around in your vitreous, which is the jelly inside the eye. But most often than not, the central vision starts getting blurry. You lose the sharpness, the acuity that you used to have. And in the late stages, if you get a large hemorrhage inside the eye, you can go completely blind until that hemorrhage is removed.
My goodness. Now, what are some of the early treatments that if you're starting to see some of the signs of the disease, what are some of the things that you can do for it?
Yes, so nowadays we are giving a lot of injections into the eye with different medicines. We have 3 different medicines that are designed to keep these blood vessels that are no longer keeping tight, try to tighten them up a little bit and make them a little stronger per se. We have some anti-inflammatory medicine. There's a big inflammatory component to these leaky blood vessels. We stop the inflammation, we can stop the leakage. It depends on the severity of the disease. What I tell patients is, you know, this is a relationship you're not going to have probably for the rest of your life. It's not something that I can treat you with 1 or 2 injections and you're treated and you're cured. You have to keep coming back. If you're stable, we'll increase the intervals. But that's something that patients need to know. You know, the retina is something that we can't say you're done and you're cured and you're on your own. Laser is the other thing we offer patients. Laser can kill and regress these new blood vessels that are forming, and it's been there for many, many years, 30, 40 years, and it's still very valid today.
That's really something. Now, diabetic eye disease includes a couple of things. You were talking about the diabetic retinopathy.
Yes.
And the cataracts. Now, I didn't realize cataracts were part of diabetes? I thought everyone got cataracts.
If you live long enough, we all get cataracts. Diabetics can have cataract happen much sooner. So we see some folks who in their 40s and 50s develop cataracts, and a specific kind of cataracts, cataracts that forms behind the lens, happens much sooner in these folks. Somebody in usually cataracts 60s, 70s is when we start seeing it form, but it can happen much sooner in diabetics.
Wow. Geez, you're at a really big disadvantage if you're a diabetic. I encourage you to take very, very good care of yourself. And also glaucoma is another problem for diabetics.
Glaucoma is a major problem. Now, studies are mixed. There's really no definite study that says there is a link between diabetes and glaucoma. We have some studies that say yes, we have some studies that say not really, so we don't really know quite yet. But glaucoma is another disease that's silent. You will not know you have glaucoma until it's too late.
Oh dear.
Another reason to get your dilated eye exam at least once a year. This is even if you don't have diabetes. As you get over 40 years old, once a year, dilate your eyes and have an eye care provider take a look and make sure there's no problems. Because again, diabetes is also, like we call it, the silent killer. We don't know it doesn't kill you. Like high blood pressure. You don't really know you have high blood pressure. You don't really know you have high cholesterol. That's why you go to the doctor to get those levels checked. And if you have a problem, you control them. Same thing with glaucoma, same thing with diabetic retinopathy. You want to catch them early. If it's too late, unfortunately, we've lost some ground.
Wow. Now glaucoma is still treatable?
Treatable. We can't cure glaucoma. Glaucoma is a disease that as time goes on, you lose some of these cells responsible for transmitting the vision to your brain. And what happens is you lose your peripheral vision, and as time goes on, you start losing more and more and more in central. And the reason people don't realize they've lost some peripheral vision because we don't really use our peripheral vision. We focus in the center. And some folks come in and we do a visual field test, and they notice they've lost a big chunk of their peripheral vision. And driving becomes very difficult at this point. To answer your question, glaucoma, we don't really have a cure for it. We control the disease, we slow down the disease. But again, once you have it, it's not something that we can cure and you're on your way. You need continuous care for the rest of your life.
Wow. Well, so take very good care of your eyes.
Absolutely.
And pick a really good doctor, apparently.
That's right.
Someone that you like, because you're, as you say, going to have a lifelong relationship with them. But it sounds like there's lots of options and lots of treatments.
Indeed.
And you definitely are there for the folks that have these certain
Me, my
eye
partners,
diseases.
the folks who do glaucoma, cataract surgeons, everybody is committed to keeping your eyes as healthy and as long as possible.
I bet. But first, you have to be committed to them.
Indeed, absolutely.
What do you specialize in yourself?
I'm a retinal surgeon, so I do diabetics, I do macular degeneration, detachments. That's the bulk of my practice.
Wow. That's something.
Indeed. I really enjoy what I do.
Well, that's wonderful. I'm glad you do. I couldn't do what you do. I'm one of those weird people that faints. Yeah.
You get used to it, I'm sure.
You think?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know about that. It's not my choice to faint, mind you. I don't go, oh, I'm out of here. I just like, whether I like it or not, I'm going to faint. So thank you for what you do. I really, really appreciate it. Now, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful website that's got lots of information on it, retinalconsultantsaz.com. So you can go ahead and check that out. If you have any questions, you can give them a call at 1-800-640-6442. You can check that out. As you say, you have lots of associates in your office that specialize in everything anyone could ever need.
And we go all over the state. So folks, I don't know how far the broadcast goes. We go as far south as Yuma. We go to Sedona, Parker, Lake Havasu, Cottonwood. So we go all over.
That's wonderful.
Yes,
well, thank you for that.
Of course.
Dr. Malad Hawk from the Retinal Consultants of Arizona.
Thank you for
having me.
having
And we'll be right back, so don't go away.
If you don't fix them, sparks from dragging tow chains could cause a wildfire, and that could be scary. Hi, Smokey. Only you can prevent wildfires.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
And welcome back to the Verde Valley Experience. We are now in Camp Verde at the Stone Church Forge. We're standing here with Mr. Ray Rymar. Thank you so much for letting us into your studio.
Well, I'm very glad to have you here.
This is really, really cool. There's way too much to talk about, absolutely. But you started out as a horseshoer, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that's some tough work.
It is.
Yeah.
Horseshoeing is for young guys.
Yeah.
And when it really got tough was when I got a little older and moved into a racetrack. And it was standard bred horses, so that's all hot work because that's all steel. Wow. Flat trackers are just aluminum, but standard breds are all steel. All the shoes have to be made individually. Every horse is a little different. Everyone has to be hung up a little different or he'll cut himself up.
Right.
So
very technical.
Very technical, and you have to do young ones as well as old ones.
Right.
So it's a young fella's racket.
There you go. Well, you got out of that, thank goodness.
I got out of that.
And you got into much more amazing things. Now, what happened after you were horseshoeing? Where'd you
Well,
go
I
next?
always did forge. I forged forever because originally I came from Pittsburgh, and in Pittsburgh you either did coal mines or steel. And my mother's grandfather did coal, but on my father's side it was all steel workers. So steel was pretty common to me, and even at the coal mines there were always forges going because not only did they shoe small ponies and mules that were working in the mines at that time, but they had a multitude of equipment that needed to be worked on constantly. Machines broke down. All those machines were not standardized like they are today. Blacksmith would make the bolts, make the nuts. The picks had to be resharpened. Wow. Chisels, everything that they used. There was a blacksmith shop there. So I was pretty familiar with it and just picked it up and just ran with it.
Nice. And run with it you did because you are an internationally renowned bladesmith.
Well, the fact is there are a little less than 130 registered master smiths in the world. Arizona happens to have 3.
All right.
Myself, Tim Hancock in Scottsdale, and Larry Fagan over in Prescott. And interestingly, when I went for my master's, I think there were 3, maybe 4 gentlemen there at the same time, same year. And one of them was Jim Jackson, the Queen's armorer. For him to come over here and try for his masters and to be in the same particular point in time that he did was pretty interesting to me. And he's about 10-15 years my senior.
Wow.
So I wasn't a youngster when I did that, but at least I was a few years younger than Jim Jackson, the Queen's armorer.
That's true. And now you're retired.
I'm retired now.
As you say, doing what you want when you want.
Exactly.
But you still teach classes.
I still teach classes. I teach classes at Pay Tool Company and Bill Moran School of Bladesmithing. Interesting story. A fellow that everybody's familiar with right now because he's running to be president is Governor Huckabee. A real sharp fellow, in my opinion, because Arkansas had one of the first master bladesmiths, and his name was Larry Fisk. And Huckabee was governor at that point in time, and he immediately made him a national treasure, as do the Japanese. And that gave the impetus for a group to organize in Old Arkansas, which is a real neat historical place in Arkansas. And they constructed the Bill Moran School of Bladesmithing, and I teach there.
Wow.
Used to teach at Touchstone in Pennsylvania. That's where I met my wife, and that's how I ended up in Arizona. She's a native, and she tried Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania is like the tundra for a genuine Arizona native. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is amazing what you have set up here in the Verde Valley. You've got all your equipment. This piece being the most used piece, you say, the little giant. When you see this thing running, you will be amazed. Wow, this bends and presses steel.
It does. It hits a lot harder than I can, a lot longer. It hits longer and harder than I could even whenever I was 18 or 20. And it will wear out any 10 men. They built them during the turn of the century, and they manufactured them so that they would last generation after generation after generation, as this one has.
Yeah, it is gorgeous, covered in grease and metal shavings. Now, something really interesting about you is that Ray here makes his own iron. You think, make your own iron, how's that possible? You collect your own ore, you melt it down, and you turn it into iron bars.
Right.
And who does that? That's amazing that you go that extra step. So even the iron is from the Verde Valley, which is amazing.
All the iron here is from the Verde Valley.
It's really something.
And once upon a time, it almost became mandatory, because once upon a time, this country produced just about any kind of steel that you wanted to get your hands on, and it was high quality. There are only one or two, maybe a half dozen manufacturers that are even capable of doing that now. They have their own set of customers. You're not going to step in and dictate them to them and tell them you want a little batch. They don't have time to mess with Ray under the apple tree. There is one that I know that will, and he does supply me with some things whenever I need them, according to my specifications.
Nice.
And as long as you know the chemistry, he can make it. But for small batches, it's easier for me, as long as I know the chemistry, to just make the steel right here.
That's really something. And you have a very interesting technique that you do. You are, inscribing is the wrong word. What do you call it for the words that you're putting on your blades?
The term that they use is mosaic Damascus. Damascus steel originally came out of India into Damascus, Syria. During the Crusades, the Westerners ran into it. They found out that it was a pretty bad actor. They wanted to imitate it, couldn't, so they began to make pattern layered steel. Pattern layered steel developed then into something that became very technical by one individual in France in about 1840, 1850, and he was able to blend his name into a bar of steel. Everyone's been trying to do that ever since. One man succeeded with several words, "In God We Trust." His name was Hugh Bartrug, and he was a contemporary to Steve Schwartzer out of Florida. Steve Schwartzer really went to extremes and figured out how to do this expertly. Luckily, I happen to be good friends with both of those gentlemen. Hugh Bartrug is since deceased. Steve Schwartzer is the captain of a real small team. Luckily, the ones that he chose to be on his team are all here in the United States. There's one right up there in Montana named Shane Taylor. He's a younger fellow than me, but he is expert at it. And through the help of fellows like that and Steve Schwartzer, we've developed a process by which we could put your name, Jennifer, through a bar of steel end to end, anywhere from 2 foot, 6 foot, 10 foot.
That's amazing.
You name it.
And no matter where you cut it, it's going to be
Anywhere
in
you
there.
cut it, it's gonna be there.
amazing. Well, you can see examples of this. If you look online, you can look up Ray Rybar anywhere online. Poof, you come up all over the place.
Right.
You've been featured in books. We've got a wonderful website. I saw you on AmericanBladesmith.com, and then you have your own website.
Not anymore. I'm retired.
Oh, you're retired. Well, there
I'm
you go.
retired. The only way you can find me now is if somebody else.
Is if you know somebody.
If you
gotta
know somebody, I'll be on your program. So.
Well, there we go. Well, Ray, thank you so much for letting us in
You're very
and
welcome,
all the demonstrations and showing us all your wonderful tools. I really love it. Ray Rybar, world-renowned bladesmith. You've got to check him out online. And we'll be right back with more of the experience, so don't go away.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to theshelterpetproject.org and meet a few who are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to theshelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
Doesn't see race. Love is love.
Hart, what's going on? I'm leaving. Why? What did I do? Not enough. You constantly ignore me. You barely eat anything healthy. You're half as active as you used to be. The pressure is just too much. I quit. Okay, I get it. I'll do better. Just please, don't leave. Okay. But remember, if I go, you go.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
And welcome back to the Verde Valley Experience. I now have two wonderful guests with me. I have Anthony Caetano, the Community Liaison and co-chair of the Sedona Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, and also Edward Lee, who is the Camp Verde Liaison for Ollie. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today.
No, thank you.
And thank you for dressing up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like
We were.
Was this coordinated?
This was coordinated, yeah.
Oh,
we
it's
called
nice.
last night.
So Ed's wearing the cowboy boots, though.
Yeah, well,
Tony, I mean, hello.
Yeah,
cowboy
we've been
boots.
working up on our outfits for the past 3 months.
You've been ironing for a week.
Yeah.
Well, Ollie does so much in the community to enrich the lives of retired folks and others alike. Please tell us what you're doing now.
Oh, well, what we're doing now, actually, we have two events coming up here.
Right.
We have our open house, which is what we call the Taste of Ollie, where people can come and have a light continental breakfast, and then we'll have rotating sessions with different presenters or facilitators, we call them, and we have 144 courses that we're offering this semester for the fall. But the Taste of Ollie, we'll have 24 of those people. They're going to have 20 minutes to present what they're doing, and we're going to have it on a rotating basis. And we're going to have prizes, gift certificates, we're going to have a continental breakfast, a light lunch, and it's going to be held at the Sedona campus at Yavapai College from 10:30 to 2:30 on September 17th, Thursday, September 17th. And then this year, because of Ed and all the work that he's done, we're going to have a program offered in Camp Verde.
All right.
I'll let Ed talk to you about what's that.
Take it away, Ed.
Take it away, Ed.
Well, you know, up to now, Jennifer, Ollie has been part of Yavapai College, their Lifelong Learning Institute program. And in Camp Verde, we don't have a facility, a Yavapai College facility like they do in Clarkdale and in Sedona. So the town of Camp Verde came together, and what they're going to do is offer various classrooms that they currently have for us to put the facilitators in, and they'll run the classes out of those locations.
Wow.
We're hoping that Ollie will have a location in Camp Verde that will be permanent, and it will be in the newly constructed library.
Fabulous.
You probably did. I don't know if you heard that they were going to be having
Yes, yes.
Well, that should be done. That should be completed by mid-spring next year.
Okay.
So, in the programs and classes we're putting together now in Camp Verde will be at various locations, but they're all within like 50 feet of one another. So it isn't going to be a major issue.
It's not too much of a hike.
No. And so our first semester, Camp Verde's first semester, will be the fall semester of the other two locations. So that will be our first semester. And that starts September 28th, I believe it is. But what we're going to do on September 3rd is we're going to have an open house, which we call a launch, because there are a lot of people in Camp Verde who don't know about Ollie.
Right.
So we're going to have that event is going to take place on the 3rd of September. Hopefully we'll get people from that event to take the classes and so forth and so on.
Right. That's wonderful.
So we're kind of excited about it.
I can tell you're very passionate. Ed.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I really am. And in the situation where we're part of a municipality, that is town of Camp Verde, I had to be voted on by the town council to serve as liaison for Ollie in Camp Verde.
How about that?
So I've got some responsibility, baby.
You do. Some power. Is it going to your head?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Keep my hat on.
It hasn't started yet.
So right now, we're going to have 17 actual classes, 14 of which are workshops, and 4 of which are classes.
Learning groups.
Learning groups.
Yeah.
And we surprise other members of Ollie in putting together this many activities in this shorter period of time.
Really?
So we're kind of excited about it.
I bet.
And I've been getting a lot of cooperation from the Ollie people and also from the Camp Verde town people.
That's wonderful.
So for me, it's a slam dunk.
I bet. And such a great addition to the Camp Verde community.
Yeah, it is.
That's nice. Ollie's really spreading out.
Yes, that's what we're doing. And Ed has worked very, very hard. The difference between a learning group and a workshop is a learning group is usually 4 to 7 weeks. A workshop is usually one time for 3 to 4 hours, or it could be 2 times.
Oh, very good.
And there's one in here I have to plug. A friend of mine is doing it. It's called Learn to Be Your Own Private Eye.
Ooh.
And what he does is he helps you to find people that you've been looking for on the internet, and he also helps you to get the information that you have out there off the internet so they can't find you.
Oh.
So it's cool. It's really
Double-edged
good class.
sword. That is really neat.
Yeah.
Wow. How about some other examples of these awesome workshops?
Sure. There's a couple on self-publishing on Amazon, ebooks. There's one about jewelry making, archaeology on the Verde Valley. Ed, you should talk about this one. He's got one here about the U.S. Army Buffalo Soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of those guys?
I have heard of the Buffalo Soldiers.
Well, I did perform a class last semester on the Buffalo Soldiers, and I'm part of a group of men and women, a couple of women, most of which are down in Phoenix area, and they come up and they help me put on this particular workshop.
Wow.
And we tell them about, we do historians, and we also do reenactment. And then I also volunteer at Fort Verde, where on Sundays I'm in full attire, and I stand as a historian And I love that too. Everything I do in life, I love.
I can see that. That's what life is for. I really believe it. Everything you should absolutely love and have passion for. And I know that learning is so important. As we get older, it's really important to keep our brains going, keep them interesting, you know, keep life moving along. And Ollie is certainly the place to do all that. I mean, you've got everything covered.
Yeah, we do. And I've met some really nice people in Ollie. I have to include Tony in that number as well.
Only because he's sitting right next to
you. Actually, Ollie is probably better than any of these dating services that you have, because there's a lot of socialization that goes on.
Well, that's true.
And you get to interact with people that have the same interests. And it's just a great program to be involved in.
How about that? Even the dating service on the side. That is something else.
He didn't say that. He didn't mean that.
I did.
Well, you know, singles will be singles. But check out the website. You're going to find all kinds of really, really interesting information on there. I will try to read the website. www.yc.edu/OLISV. There we go. There's the website. Check it out. You'll find lists of classes and workshops and locations and what's going on and interesting tidbits about Ed and Tony, apparently. Unless that workshop guy gets in there first.
Right.
But check them out. Give them a call. You can get a hold of them at 928-649-5550. Wonderful place. Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Thank you so much, Ed and Tony, for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And we'll see you again soon.
Okay.
We'll be right back, so don't go away.
Everything all right?
Actually, you know how Tom had knee surgery?
Sure.
We found out Brad's been taking his painkillers. And it turns out he's been doing it for a while.
Most people don't know what to say about drugs, but we do. Visit us at drugfree.org.
Orkin has pest control down to a science.
When your business chooses Orkin's Precision Protection Program, you get a tailored pest control program for your specific industry and environment.
Your business can benefit from over a century of experience, training, and scientific knowledge that define the Orkin man.
Maximum protection, minimum exposure, backed by one of the industry's most comprehensive guarantees.
Choose your locally owned and operated Northern Arizona Orkin and get more than an exterminator. Get an expert.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back to the Verde Valley Experience. Now we have quite the experience for you today. We are located at the United States Geological Survey Flagstaff Science Campus. Yes, and we are in the Astrogeology building here with Bob Hart, who is the scientist in charge here at the Flagstaff Science Center. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I'm so excited to be here. This is too cool. And we're sitting here in front of the moon rover.
Yes, this is called the Grover, and it was used for training astronauts back in the 60s.
Right.
Here in Flagstaff.
Which is amazing. You may not know it, but there's a huge facility here for training astronauts of all sorts of things because of, you know, our wonderful desert landscape.
Exactly.
Looks a bit like the moon sometimes.
Exactly.
So are they still doing that here?
No, they still work very closely with NASA and various missions and programs. But the astronaut training program did take place back in the 60s during the Apollo program.
Sure.
So they actually trained the astronauts on the rover here, outside of Flagstaff and other places in northern Arizona.
That's neat. Got some great history right here, and you've got some wonderful displays in the building regarding that. But you've got a lot going on here. We're going to have to shove it all in here. But how many different groups? You have 5 different groups, all studying different, really interesting things.
Exactly. So yes, we have the Astrogeology Science Center, and obviously they are into studying planetary, different types of planetary programs and those sorts of things. We have the Southwest Biological Science Center. They're our second largest group on campus, and they focus on looking at drought and climate change and how it's impacting wildlife, plants, those sorts of things. And they do other studies too related to wildlife and biology. They have a large group within the Southwest Biological Center known as the Grand Canyon Monitoring and Research Center. And that's the group that does all the research related to the releases of water from Glen Canyon Dam down the Colorado River to Lake Mead. So they look at sediment, they look at biology, they look at impacts to cultural resources in the canyon.
Wow.
So they have a rather large staff that does that kind of work. Right. We have 3 smaller groups. We have the Arizona Water Science Center, and that group primarily looks at and monitors, assesses surface water and groundwater resources in northern Arizona. They also do special studies looking at water availability, groundwater basins, sustainability, those sorts of things.
Wow.
And another small group here on campus, this is a long one. It's the Geology, Minerals, Energy, and Geophysics Science Center, or GMEG. And it's really our geology folks, and they do a lot of mapping of various landscapes in the Southwest. And so one of their primary programs right now, they're mapping the lower Colorado River below Hoover Dam down to the Mexico border.
Wow,
so,
big job.
Big job. And the final science group is the Western Geographic Science Center. And that's our group that is really into applying remote sensing technology to various natural resource issues. So they look at the effects of populations on the landscape and look at that over time and related to climate change and also impacts from the population.
Wow, that's something. Did you remember all that? Did you write that down? That's a whole lot.
That's a lot.
Well, one really cool thing about the Flagstaff Science Center is a lot of it is open to the public.
It is.
So you can come on up from wherever you are, a day trip from the Verde Valley, come up to the Flagstaff Science Center. You can visit the amazing library, which I hear is one of the best of its kind.
Yes, we do have a USGS library located right here in Building 6. And it's a repository for an archive for biological, geological, and planetary information. It's one of 4 libraries within the USGS.
Wow.
And then, yes, and that's open to the public as
Very
well.
Cool. And there's also self-guided tours of the buildings and
Absolutely.
displays.
So when you come up to our campus, there's a map of our campus. It's not the best map, but hopefully it'll get you to where you want to go. But every building has a main entrance where visitors can come in, sign in, and they're welcome to take a self-guided tour of the buildings. And a lot of most of our buildings have displays, posters, posters of what all the scientists are working on. So it's very, very interesting.
Well, that is true. And I hear there's a fish tank.
There is a fish tank.
I hear there's a fish tank, which sounds really cool. The Colorado and the native fish from this area. So
exactly.
That's neat. And besides the self-guided tours, and you can come visit the library, you guys do lectures as well.
We do. We do lectures throughout the year. We have quite a robust outreach program. A lot of people here on campus love to go out and give lectures all the way from grade school through high school. We participate in lectures at NAU, Northern Arizona University, Lowell, the Museum of Northern Arizona, and And then there's certain times of the year, there's certain science programs going on, like the Flagstaff Festival of Science.
Right.
And during that time, there's a lot of scientists here are giving lectures and presentations to the schools.
That's great. And when does that happen?
That is held in September.
All right.
And all the science agencies in town participate in this. It's been going on for a long time. And one of the big activities associated with the Festival of Science is the Science in the Park. And that's where all, well, most science groups in Flagstaff, they gather down in Wheeler Park in downtown Flagstaff, and they'll set up booths and displays and things for kids to interact with. Wow. They have a lot of rocks displayed and wildlife, and so it's a really good outreach event for for the city.
You guys are doing a lot. There's a lot that you can come up and see and do and look at, and there's over 200 folks working here, scientists and technicians and all kinds of stuff, folks around and catch the lectures. Now, the website is the best place to see what's going on. And tell me the website.
Oh boy. I think if you just Google usgs.gov, you can eventually get down to the Flagstaff Science Campus.
Oh, there we go.
And then the Flagstaff Science Campus has a website that has links to all the science groups here on campus and also elsewhere in Arizona.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bob Hart, scientist in charge, that's just such a cool handle. I love that. Here at the United States. Oh my gosh, I'm out of breath from all those different words, but the Flagstaff Science Campus, you got to come up and check it out. Check it out online. Bob, thank you so much for being here.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Very cool.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you.